So I had this totally insane idea. What if we built something completely out of place? People build sand castles on the beach all the time, right? And then the tide comes and washes it all away. What if we built a gigantic sandcastle deep in the middle of a forest? Imagine hiking through the woods and stumbling upon a massive, detailed sand fortress. It would be a memory you'd never forget. That's the kind of epic surprise we love to create. The challenge was huge. The logistics were a nightmare. How do you even get sand into a forest? We had no idea, but we knew we had to try. The goal was simple: build the biggest, most incredible sandcastle, but hide it where no one would think to look. It's the ultimate secret project. We wanted to create a hidden gem, a myth that people might whisper about. Guys, we are going to haul tons of sand into a forest and build a castle. We started planning right away, because when you have an idea this epic, you can't just sit on it. This was going to be one of our most legendary builds ever. First things first, we had to find the perfect location. This was maybe the most important step of the entire project. The spot had to be completely hidden. We couldn't just build it a few feet off a popular hiking trail. We needed deep woods, a place so remote you'd only find it if you were seriously lost. We spent days looking at satellite maps, searching for clearings far from any known roads. After scouting a few potential areas, we found the one. It was perfect. Deep in a state forest, miles from any parking lot, and a small stream trickled nearby, which would be crucial for packing the sand later. The sunlight filtered through the canopy, creating this amazing, almost magical atmosphere. This was it. Getting to the spot was a challenge in itself. We had to hike for over an hour, navigating with a compass and GPS, pushing through dense underbrush. There was no trail, which was exactly what we wanted. We marked the location on our devices, took dozens of photos to plan the build, making sure to cover our tracks on the way out. We didn't want to leave any signs that people were coming and going from this area. The secrecy was everything. We made a pact to be incredibly respectful of the environment. We would bring everything in and we would leave no trace behind other than the castle itself. This hidden clearing was now our secret workshop, a blank canvas waiting for the most unexpected work of art you could possibly imagine. The stage was set, and now the real work was about to begin. Now, for the hardest part, how do you get 20 tons of sand into the middle of a forest without anyone knowing? We couldn't just drive a dump truck through the trees, so we came up with a crazy multi-step plan. First, we rented a massive dump truck and had it deliver the sand to the absolute closest access point we could find, which was still over a mile away from our secret spot. The delivery happened at 3 a.m. to avoid anyone seeing a mountain of sand being dumped on the edge of a forest. The next phase was Operation Sand Brigade. We filled literally thousands of heavy-duty construction bags with sand, each one weighing about 50 pounds. This was pure hard work. Then, using all-terrain wagons and wheelbarrows with rugged tires, we started the long process of hauling the sand, bag by bag, to the clearing. It took our entire team days of back-breaking labor. We worked in shifts, moving silently through the woods. It was a slow and exhausting process. We had to be incredibly careful to not create a new trail. We purposefully took slightly different routes each time we hauled a load of sand. We even had a cleanup crew whose only job was to walk behind the transport team and fluff up leaves and move branches to hide our footprints. But with every bag we moved, the dream of the castle felt more real. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last bag of sand was delivered to the clearing. We had a massive pile of sandbags, sitting in the middle of our secret spot, a truly bizarre sight in the middle of the woods. The physical toll was huge. Everyone was sore and tired, but the sense of accomplishment was even bigger. We had conquered the biggest logistical hurdle. Now, the fun part could begin. It was time to build our masterpiece. With all the sand in place, it was time to build. We weren't just making a pile of sand. We were constructing a fortress. We started by creating a massive, compacted base, mixing the sand with water from the nearby stream. Our castle was going to be huge, about 15 feet tall and 20 feet wide. The design was ambitious. Central keep, 4 towering spires, high walls, tunnels you could crawl through, and a grand staircase. This was going to be a sandcastle worthy of a legend. The construction process was an incredible team effort. Different teams worked on different sections. One team built the main towers using buckets and forms. Another team did detailed carving using shovels, trowels, and plastic sculpting tools to create windows, brick patterns, and archways. We worked from sunrise to sunset. As the castle took shape, it was breathtaking. The giant, ornate structure rising among the trees was the epic sight we imagined. We added cool details. Smooth, gray river stones lining the pathways and on tower tops. Collecting interesting pieces of moss, placing moss on walls, and carved a hidden message on a back wall. Find the wonder. One of the coolest features was the tunnel system. Using large plastic tubes as framework, packing sand over tubes, then pulling the tubes out revealed dark, sandy tunnels you could crawl from one side to the other. A secret feature inside a secret castle. Seeing the finished product, standing tall and proud in the forest clearing, was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. We had actually done it. We built an impossible sand castle in the woods. Of course, building in the wild comes with its own set of problems. Our biggest enemy was the weather. One night, a huge rainstorm swept through. Some of the finer details had been blurred. One of the smaller walls had partially collapsed, but the main structure was still standing strong. We spent a whole day doing repairs, reinforcing the walls, and digging small drainage channels around the base. We also had some curious visitors. A family of deer would often wander into the clearing, cautiously sniffing at the strange sandy mountain. A raccoon dug a little den in one of the lower walls. We gently repaired it after it moved on. These encounters weren't really problems. They were reminders we were guests here. The forest and its creatures were interacting with our art, making the castle feel like part of the natural world. Now that it's finished, we just left it there. The project is complete. The true magic isn't in the building, but in the idea that one day someone will find it. I hope it's a kid on an adventure or a hiker who explored off the trail. Imagine their confusion, then disbelief, and finally, pure wonder. Finding a giant sand castle in the middle of a forest is a story they'll tell forever. It's a moment of magic that can't be explained, a glitch in the matrix showing the world can surprise you. That's why we do things like this. It's not about the views or the likes. It's about creating genuine astonishment. Secret sand castles and secret projects remind us to stay curious, explore, and believe there is still magic hidden in the world. We left a piece of wonder in that forest, a silent invitation for someone to have an unforgettable day. The thought of that person's discovery is the best reward. I hope they feel like they've found a treasure, because in a way, they have.